Well, are you ready for some unindoctrination? I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and a little bit of pain today. My old hockey knee's getting me. It's getting me. But nonetheless, we're coming to you from the heartland of America with the spirit of 1776 and a rebel yell. And we're ready to rock and roll. And we're going to talk today about a subject that we should all find very interesting and a subject that I think we'll all find very, very practical. I want to look at 10 characteristics, and we'll probably only look at 5 of them today because it can be quite lengthy. We're going to talk about characteristics of a cult. And is your group one? And do you have the guts to check? And do you have the guts to ask if you're running a cult? If some of those that love to come in and look and act silly and, kind of run and hide and all that stuff. But anyway, folks, here we are, and we're ready to rock and roll. And let's get going right now. Let's take a look at, oh man, my knee is killing me. No, it's not killing me. It just hurts. We don't want to say that kind of stuff. Don't want to make those confessions. But 10 characteristics of a cult. How does your group measure up? Truth you're not going to hear anywhere else. From yours truly, Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. So let's get into this. And what we're going to look at is that, a lot of us use that word. No thanks, babe. A lot of us use that word cult. It gets thrown around. And it's a word that gets tossed around by almost everyone. And yet, almost no one knows what the word really means. Basically, it's used as a pejorative, and that means like a swear word or an insult for any group or any belief, other than your own, of course, that you don't like or that for whatever reason you don't approve of. So if you don't like somebody, you say, oh, they're a cult. Not you, not the 45,600. I think I'm going to stand up and see if that helps me out a little bit. Sitting down is a little tough right now. So let's go ahead and stand up. That's better. Sorry for the clunk, but got to do what I got to do. So here we are now. We're standing up. We're still ready to rock and roll. And I hope the background is still centered. So anyway, here we go. People don't like it or they don't agree with it. So the easiest thing to do is just call it a cult. But most people don't know what a cult means. And perhaps you don't know what a cult means. And I'm not talking about occult. OCCULT means hidden, usually has to do with magic, stuff like that. No, we're talking about cult. CULT. And as Brandon, so this is a very good comment. He says, it opens movements to be criticized and assaults the message to discredit. Very, very good. And that's exactly what they do. So don't use the word if you don't know what it means, and at least have the decency to look it up before you brand someone something. And at the end of this broadcast, you will know what a cult is. And if you really want to help figure things out, and if you really want to help up your cognitive abilities, I strongly recommend the Focus Life Force Energy. You see it on the screen. It really is high consciousness on demand. And I'm telling you, folks, it helps with EMF mitigation. It helps your pets be more calm, sleep better. It helps you sleep better. It helps the nutrients in your body get uptaken better by your food. No one's ever been abducted from a fluffy environment, and no one has ever been, I don't believe in these, but caught a demon in the fluffy environment. So go to jeffreydaugherty.com and click on the fluffy logo and try it. You can try it free for 30 days, 15 on your phone, 15 on your home. I say just go ahead and get it. You will never regret having this great service. And especially in this world that's so crazy today, if they beam it to your cell phone, it's like 60 feet in all directions. So you can be out in the midst of this craziness, and you can actually sympathetically affect the people that are within 60 feet of you. So that's very, very interesting and a very, very positive development. So what is a cult? And here's the 10 traits of a true cult. Number 1, financial plundering, thought manipulation, hypnosis, and brainwashing. Milieu control, that's misspelled, sorry. That basically means controlling your social environment, isolating you from a familiar environment, control of information, manipulation of language, loss of communication, deprivation of sleep, food, or relaxation, exploitation of a workforce, deprivation of private life, degradation of the individual, emotional manipulation, fear and guilt, and 10, fighting critics and spying on one another. And what I want to do is I want to look at, since we're starting to talk about Dianetics, we're starting to talk about Scientology through our Create Yourself curriculum. And I know that it makes some of you nervous. I know that some of you want to go like this. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at, as we look at these things, I want to compare Black Scientology, the Church of Scientology, and say, is that a cult? And rather, I want to look at white Dianetics and Scientology that I'm proposing that you consider, see if that's a cult. And then I want to look at Christianity and Christian Light to see if they're a cult. New Light it's got a very, and I thought about this several times when I was making this video. New Light says that the Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. Very, very correct. Very, very on target. We're not talking about them today, though, so that's might be why Tracy took that out, but that's okay. So let's talk about it. We're going to break down, as I said, both white and black Dianetics against these objective standards, not opinion, but just against these objective standards. We'll break down Christianity, we'll break down Christian Light, and as we're going through this, I encourage you to feel free to break down your group against this same standard. Are you afraid to ask the hard questions? Do you have the courage to live out the results and take appropriate action? And maybe you yourself are a YouTube provider that is sneaking in here to watch because you don't like me and you don't want anybody to know you're here, and you change your name and you block me from your channel. Maybe you can ask yourself, am I a cult? Do us all a favor and find out. So number 1, financial plundering. What's that mean? Now, let me state this very emphatically. There's nothing wrong with a group trying to finance itself. Without proper financing, no group can survive. Well, not for long. And what life force is to an individual, let's face it, money is to a group. And with the spending of the last penny, a group breathes its last. So I am not against people saying, hey, our channel's not monetized, or even if it is monetized, saying, hey, if you want to help, please share. Here's our PayPal. Here's our whatever. So I'm not against that. In fact, I do that. We've been demonetized. If you feel like you want to share and help, since we've been demonetized, and many of you have, you can use the information in the box below to do so, and I'll be very, very grateful for it. So there's nothing wrong with trying to get the money to keep your group going. But within that statement, there's a hidden clue that this is how we kill a cult. If you know something's a cult and you want to kill it, stop paying it. And if it's on YouTube, stop watching it. Yeah, but Jeff, I like to watch because it's so funny and they're so crazy and I just can't believe what they're saying. I know, I got the same temptations. And do I sometimes fall in and give in? Yes, I do. It's like porn, though. You know, we don't need to be. You feel guilty because you don't want to watch it and you are giving them energy, like Tracy says. And the other thing you're giving them, whether you know it or not, is you're giving them money. Because for the minutes that you're on their channel, you actually are giving them money because they get paid in an indirect way for views, time views, and if they are monetized, they get more commercials on their channel based upon how many people are watching them. So I got to stop doing it. There's a couple I still look in on just because It's a personality flaw. I got to stop it. And the reason why is I know I'm giving them money every time I do it. So I got to stop doing it. And you might want to consider stop doing it too. But that's the way to kill a cult. Don't watch them. Don't listen to them. And certainly don't give them any money. Certainly don't give them any what was I going to say? Money. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. So, however, every group has to pay its way, but this can't justify the existence of the group at the bankruptcy of its members. And this is what you have so many times in cultic organizations. Give till it hurts. Give, 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 give. And the people are giving, and they get nothing. So that is actually self-defeating, because if the members go broke, it won't be long before the group goes broke. But see, YouTube is different. You could have, say, 68,000 subscribers, and you can't fool all of the people all of the time. But if you fool some of the people some of the time, that's still a really good living, and it recycles because it goes all over the world. The best thing about YouTube is anybody can have a channel. The worst thing about YouTube is that anybody can have a channel. But make sure, folks, that you never, ever allow a group to put you in the situation of going into debt to support them. It's unforgivable for any spiritual group to send its members into the debt trap. And cults try to suck members dry financially on the grounds that it will allow the group to survive. That is a cult. People that are doing that, groups that are doing that, are a cult. Now, is the Church of Scientology a cult? We're talking about the official Clearwater Church, a couple blocks literally from where I was born in Morton Plain Hospital. We're talking about that church. And based on trait number 1, financial plundering, is the Church of Scientology a cult? Well, post-1972, the Church of Scientology raised the price of full Dianetic Scientology bridge. That's from where you start at the beginning to where you're an OT clear at the end. And we'll talk about what that means. From less than $10,000, worst case scenario, you'd have to have like 300 hours of auditing, and that's a lot. And I don't know anybody that's ever needed that. But if you did that, when L. Ron Hubbard was running the show, you would spend $10,000. Actually, less than $10,000, but I like round numbers because I'm a Bible college graduate, not a math major. Now in the Church of Scientology, to do the same thing, and the technology doesn't even work anymore because it's black Scientology. Now it's over $1 million. I think it's safe to say that according to trait number 1, financial plundering, the church, the official Church of Scientology, and you notice I put the $sign there, is definitely a cult. But what about Dianetics and Scientology, LRH style, where you just saw that, where did I put my keyboard? Oh, you just saw that it only cost less than $10,000. And that's, again, if you had 300 hours of auditing, that's like $50 a session. Go to a psychiatrist to see what they want to charge you. But is it a cult based on that? Well, based on trait number 1, financial plundering, LRH, Dianetics, Scientology, is it a cult? Well, LRH wrote this. Make your own decisions. LRH said, I don't run up bills if I don't have money. I spend money freely only when it has been made and it's in the bank. Amongst the principles of financial management are these. 1 can't spend money unless he has it. Never contract bills or debts unless the money is immediately in sight to pay them. And here it is, folks. Here's the secret to financial success. The basic principle of financial management is your income has got to be greater than your outgo. And if you borrow money, you become the property of the bankers. L. Ron Hubbard wrote that in June of 1959. And he was solely responsible for setting the Dianetic pricing pre-1972. So, according to trait number 1, Dianetics and Scientology, separate from the Church of Scientology, is not a cult. What about Christianity? What about Christianity light? Based on this number 1 trait, are Christianity light? What's Christianity light? Oh, those are the people that say, oh, we're not really Christians, but we still need a little dabble do you of that blood. We still got to have some blood. We don't call ourselves Christians, but we still need some adrenochrome, cousin. You know who I'm talking about. The ones that, oh, no, we don't believe that, but we still love the red letters. We still carry a cross. We still love atonement. We still got a Savior. We still want to ask the Father into our heart. We still want to be possessed by plastic Jesus. You know what I'm talking about. If it's got to do with blood, that's Christian light. So, having been a Christian minister for 20 years, I can say, and I was an evangelist. I went to thousands of churches. I'd go and preach for a few days, a few weeks, and move to the next one. And I can say that there's definitely very many churches and very many ministries. Watch out for that word, bad word. Very many churches, very many ministries that are highly cultic in this aspect. They cheat you, they steal from you. And I have to admit, there's also those that are not. So the answer to the question, is Christianity a cult? Some of it, yes. Just on this specific criteria of financial plundering. Now, as far as YouTube style Christianity light, which I also know obviously intimately well, I've been doing this for 5 years, but really only concentrated for 3 years. We started in 2017, really intently. I've seen a much higher occurrence of financial plundering here in the YouTube ass media. There's mass media, there's ass media. And mainly it's because there's a lack of real accountability. Somebody can tell you they're raising money for X, and you give money for X, but they take that same money and spend it on Y. And you have no way of knowing. You have no way of telling because there's no accountability. Happens all the time. I've seen it happen, and it's a sad thing. So the answer is Christianity light, according to this criteria, a cult? And I would say yes. The vast majority of them, all of them, probably not, but the vast majority of them, yes. So financial plundering, that's cultic. That is definitely cultic. Number 2, thought manipulation, hypnosis, and brainwashing. And you know what the antidote for thought manipulation, the antidote for hypnosis, the antidote for brainwashing is? You know what it is? Well, a lot of it has to do with having a great supplement like C60 Purple Power. Because C60, not only is it a fountain of youth, I wear these glasses just because of the computer making my eyes hurt. But I don't wear reading glasses anymore. Up until Ken convinced me to start taking C60 on a regular basis, I don't wear glasses anymore. It has made it to where I don't have to wear glasses. That's a great thing. But what you don't know is it knocks all the heavy metals out of your system. What you don't know is it's the greatest antioxidant on the planet. And what you don't know until you try it is it helps you do what you do better. I'm a better YouTube presenter because of C60 Purple Power. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on the logo, and you can avail yourself of it, or just go to c60purplepower.com, use the code TCW10. So what about this criteria number 2, thought manipulation, hypnosis, brainwashing? Cults are characterized by depriving the individual of self-determination. Tracy's very right. The praise and worship services are straight up hypnosis. The music in the background, straight up hypnosis. Lighting, soft lighting, straight up hypnosis. Cadences of voices, straight up hypnosis. You got to learn to recognize this stuff. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to overwhelm you mentally so that it makes you easier to manipulate. The individual is bombarded to do and act in accordance with doctrine, rules, and beliefs, and not to engage his own rules and beliefs. They try to suck you into this group think idea. You got to think like the group does. You got to believe what the group believes. You can't question the leader. And it really is thought manipulation. It really is hypnosis. And there's actual practical things that they do to hypnotize you. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Is the Church of Scientology a cult by this standard? They're famous for hard selling members and interested parties. You got to buy this book. You got to buy this book right now. They box you. They close you. They want you to buy the book. Put it on your credit card. And they're famous for forcing members to accept church rules without thought or discussion. So obviously, the answer is the Church of Scientology by this standard a cult. That's an emphatic yes. How about Dianetics and Scientology LRH style? Well, LRH said this about that. In Scientology, a fellow or a lady will get auditing and his IQ will go up. Wow. He will become more capable. He will have his life under better control. And he can then decide to learn to help others in the same way. So the answer, according to this standard, no, LRH, Dianetics, and Scientology are not a cult. What about Christianity? What about Christianity? Does Christianity try to manipulate your thought? Does Christianity try to hypnotize you? And by the way, there's absolutely no hypnotism in Scientology or Dianetics. In fact, it's forbidden. It's forbidden. You don't want hypnotism. And I would personally, and I am a trained Ericksonian hypnotist, I wouldn't do it anymore. And I wouldn't recommend that you allow it to be done. It actually creates gaps in your time track and creates aberration. And depending upon who you're letting it do to you, it can be really, really, really bad. So is Christianity and Christian-like, guilty of thought manipulation, hypnosis, and brainwashing. Well, let's let the script answer that for us. You know, the scripture. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse number 5. In our context, we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Taking captive every thought. That means if I have an original thought, if I have a personal thought, I got to take that thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. Dude, that's mind control. Dude, that is hypnosis. That is brainwashing. And how about Galatians chapter 2, verse 20? I have been crucified with Christ. I'm still living. I'm still breathing. I'm still active in life, but I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. How can you not understand this? You go down to the altar, you get saved, quote unquote. They save you from the sin they gave you because you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. You don't have to go and bend a knee to anybody's savior because you don't need salvation. You got the spark of divinity within. But you go down there and you get saved and you're crucified. You accept plastic Jesus into your heart. You accept the Father into your heart. Now you're possessed by two entities. And it's not even you that live anymore. You understand this? They have possessed you. A true biblical Christian is a possessed Borg drone. There's no other way about it. You're crucified with this thing called Christ, which isn't even real. You've accepted this thing you've accepted these two spirits into your heart. You're possessed by them. and you don't even live anymore. It's them living through you. And every thought of your own that might come up and say, hey, wait a minute, do I want this? You got to take that captive immediately. Just from those two lines from the script, there's no other thing to say than the answer is a definite yes. For Christianity, Christianity Light is the same thing. Christianity Light still has these things. So yes, your senses can be liars and are not to be trusted, says Tracy. I don't know, but that's an interesting thought. Milieu control. This basically means your social environment. Isolate you from familiar environment. A cult, ladies and gentlemen, and a, what's the word? Not psychopath. Yes, a psychopathic partner. Throw that one in for free. Will always try to isolate you. Always try to isolate you from your familiar environment because they're trying to establish a monopoly on the formation of opinion. They don't want you to think for yourself. They don't want you to manage for yourself. They don't want you to deduce for yourself. They want you to listen to them and do what they say. After all, they're the witness. They're the channeler. They're the spirit guide. They're the guru. They're the one with all the answers. They're the most advanced spiritual being on the planet. They've got all the answers. And they don't want you to think on your own. Any outside thought is disturbing and needs to be fought against. That's why you can't ask questions. Since when does asking somebody a question constitute an attack? That's when you got an ego out of control. The only way we learn is by questioning. But in a cultic environment, questioning is not permitted. I'm the teacher. I give you the information. You accept it, and you can't question it, or there's something wrong with you. It fosters this us versus them mentality as well. Only us here are the good people. We're the good ones. We're the family. We're the group. We're the ones that know. And everybody else is bad. And they also try to occupy your time so you have no time for anything else. Only listen to us. Only watch us. And think about this too, as far as isolating you. Why do they always want to take you out to the middle of some isolated environment? Why do they always want to take you away from normality and take you out somewhere in the desert, in the forest, something like that? Why? Because they're trying to isolate you. Be very, very careful. If anybody that wants you to go out to an isolated area with them, be very, very careful of that. Because it's dangerous. It's isolation. And you're begging for trouble. Begging for trouble. So how about the Church of Scientology? Is it a cult? If you know anything about the workings of the Church of Scientology, you know this characteristic definitely defines them as a cult. You know, I'm born and raised in Clearwater, and these people will give their life to the church. They move to Clearwater. They put them in the crappiest hotels. They give them the crappiest food. They walk around in their uniforms. They're working 12, 14, 16, 18 hours a day for like $40 a week. And you know they control your thought. They control your milieu. You go into service with this thing called the Sea Org. You live, you work, you socialize only with other Scientology members. And they're forbidden to watch or listen to any non-Church of Scientology religious or self-help programming. They're not allowed to. Definite yes on the cult for Church of Scientology on this standard. What about LRH, Dianetics, and Scientology? Well, this is what LRH wrote concerning that. The first law of a condition of power, and that is just what it sounds like, self-empowerment. I'm divine. I'm sovereign. I'm free. If you're in a condition of power, The last thing you want to do, the last thing you can afford to do is disconnect. You can't deny your connections. You have to take responsibility. You have to take ownership for your connections, because with power comes the arrogance of denying and losing connections. It's important to maintain other dynamics and not just the dynamic of your group. What's he saying? Well, and you see this all the time, and I won't name names even though I'd love to. You see this all the time. Somebody learns the truth, and all of a sudden, that's the greatest truth that's ever been known. And if you don't believe this truth, there's something wrong with you and you're not spiritual. Of course, wait another day, then there's another truth. But what they're trying to do is get you just to listen to them, just to listen to their doctrine, just to listen to their information. Because after all, they are the most anointed person on the earth. But LRH teaches the exact opposite thing. No matter how smart you get, no matter how right you think you are, you've got to maintain your connections to all types of people so that if you only have connections with people that are part of your group, let's say that we had Cynthia's going to faint. Let's say that we had a commune out here in the heartland and all 45,000 of us lived in the same city. That'd be kind of cool. But all we talked to was each other. It's actually 45,600 plus, so we're really close to 46. And all we talked to was each other. All we went out to dinner was with each other. All we dated with was each other. All we talked about was just with each other. We would soon run out of any type of a balancing input. You need people that don't think like you to say, whoa, I think it'd be cool. It'd be like, whoa, what are you doing, man? What are you talking about? It limits your mindset, like Lionel says. That's exactly right. That's why I don't understand this thing of, you attacked me. How did I attack you? You asked a question. You challenged my opinion. Yeah. Because you need to be challenged. We all need to be challenged. The more powerful you get, the more important it is that you don't disconnect. Because if you get powerful and you get smart and you think you know it all and you disconnect, you're in a very sad situation because you think you know it all. And if you think you know it all and you keep your connections open and you allow yourself to be talked to, you'll realize you don't know it all. I'm an arrogant ass. I know that. But this is one thing I'm very good at. I've always tried to be the dumbest guy in the room. There were no orgies in Waco. Thank you, Lionel. I actually got invited to preach there. It's a long story. Well, it's not long, but I've done this pretty well. I'll pat myself on the back for this. I stay teachable. I realize that there's a lot of people out there that know more than I do. And even people that don't know more than I do can teach me something. So I like when people ask questions. I don't like when they troll you. And there's a difference between a troll like yesterday. Well, what about Zemu? That's not a question. That's a troll. If you ask a sensible question, I will respond and think about that and ponder it. Remember, I was a Pentecostal evangelist, and here I am today. Do you really think I'm not allowed? Do you really think I don't know how to change my opinions when I'm confronted by truth? I remember the first time it happened. I was married to the wife of my children, 16 years, and her mother, none of you know her. She is crazy as hell. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But that's okay. Sometimes people are crazy. But she was crazy. And then son, man, I love to be watching Pharaoh. I want to talk to Pharaoh. I got to talk to Pharaoh again. He's busy. I'm busy. We got to get some stuff going on. Young Pharaoh, you need to subscribe to that channel. You've seen him on here. But she hit me with the truth that the rapture wasn't real. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, evangelist. I preach the rapture. And then she hit me with some damn script from the scriptures. And I'm like, whoa. She may be crazy, but she's right and I'm wrong. That's the first time I ever remember saying, wait a minute, this ain't right. So you've got to get to that place. And the more you know, the smarter you are, the more spiritual you are, the more important it is for you to be connected and open to criticism. And I live with Cynthia, so I've got that covered. And any of you can write me and say, Jeff, I don't think Nigel does it all the time. Tracy does it all the time. It's important. So in that sense, LRH is definitely not a cult. What about Christianity? Oh boy. What about Christianity light? I just like to let the script do the talk, and that way nobody can say that I am, putting anything out there that's not true. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. Limiting your milieu, taking you away from society and cocooning you up is what we're talking about. That's a sign of a cult. What agreement can exist between the temple of God and idols? For you are the temple of God, and as God has said, I'll dwell with them and walk with them, and I'll be their God, and they'll be my people. Therefore, in other words, if you want to walk with God, and if you want God to walk with you, according to them, Lord has called us chicken heads. You've got to come out from among them. Who's them? All those people that aren't us. You got to come out from among them and be separate. Who says that? Rat bastard. Thank God the Bible says that. Don't even touch them. And then I'll receive you. If you touch them, I won't. If you don't come out from them, I won't. Wow. You can't get more of a milieu control. You can't get more isolation than that. But wait, there's more. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership can unrighteousness have with wickedness? What is that? That is obviously control. Whoops, I went the wrong way. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Where is it? Where is it? What am I doing? I swear I'm lost. I'm lost. The first law of condition. Okay, here we are. Don't disconnect. All right, great. Sorry. Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Somebody comes into the chat room and says, I'm confused. Don, let me ask you, how am I confused? I'm showing you the scriptures. They say what they say. I'm very clear in my thinking. I see what they say. I understand the words. Perhaps it's you that's confused because what you're feeling is called cognitive dissonance. But I see what he says and it makes sense, but I don't like that it makes sense. Don, you're supposed to be here. That's what we call a namaste nudge. It's not a push or a shove, just a little nudge every now and then. Nika, nice to see you. It's been a while. But when you're saying, don't hang out with them, or I won't accept you as my people. Don't be with them, or I won't accept you as my people. Don't even touch them, and I won't accept you as my people. That is a herd mentality. Don't be unequally yoked with those unbelievers. That's a herd mentality. You can't have any relationship with them. They're wicked. That's a herd mentality. Christianity, Christian light, cult. You can't watch Jeff's channel. You can't ask questions like Jeff does. Don't be touching people. 6-foot rule. That's funny. Yeah, it's a cult. And here's another one. Threw this one in just for free. All the nations. Who's that? All the people, all the peeps, except for us, have drunk the wine of the passion of immorality. The kings of the earth were immoral. The merchants of the earth were wealthy. Then I heard another voice say, come out of her. Who? The nations. Get out of all the nations. Be away from all the people and just come be my people. And if you do that, you won't share in her sins. But if you don't isolate, If you don't go into, what did we call it? Shelter at home. If you don't do that, shelter with us. It is COVID, Brandon. This is COVID. Christianity is the dosum whist. Shelter at home. Wear your mask. It's the same thing. Wow, that's a really, really good catch. Why do they want to isolate you? Why do they want to keep you away from others? Because they don't want others to get any other opinions. Just the opinion of the leader, the pastor, the preacher, the priest. Number 4, information control, ladies and gentlemen. A cult will always seek to keep the flow of information under control. And I want to tell you something. If you're wearing your Mystech, your bracelets, your necklace, if you need it, and I'm going to tell on myself right now. I'm going to tell on myself. I took all of my Mystech off last night. All of it. Took it all off, set it aside, took the necklace off, because it's a little hard. It's a little hard when, things don't get delivered and people are bitching and moaning. And I know there's a reason to bitch and moan, but I was looking for an excuse not to do Mystech. I don't want to do this anymore. And I woke up this morning after not having Mystech on for 8 hours. I felt like crap. Dragging around. Oh. And I said to Cynthia, I'm going to put this on and see if I feel better. And the change is remarkable. You get a 20% off when you buy it through jeffreydaugherty.com. You can go there. You can click on that logo that you see. And you get a full 20% off. The instructions are there. It's very, very easy. But the stuff works. The stuff works. And if you're in that flow, then you will not be able to submit yourself to a place where they want to control all information. Because uncontrolled information is a danger to the person that is using power that's oppressive. If I'm running a cult and I want to keep you all here and I want to keep you giving and I want to keep you making me money, I can't allow for any outside influence to draw you away. I don't want you watching the Christian Whistleblower. I don't want you watching Rex. I want you watching me and me only. The idea is to try to stifle any individual initiative and any open communication that seeks to gain control over an individual's data flow, meaning that, I'll explain it in the next slide. They don't want you to hear any ideas other than their ideas. That's control of information. Is the Church of Scientology a cult in this regard? They forbid members to view or listen to any non-Church of Scientology teachings. I got a good buddy named Jonathan. He's still in the church. We grew up in Clearwater. I knew him from a job that we worked that happened to be owned by Scientologists. Great guy. I love Jonathan. I need to see him if I can ever get back to the People's Republic of Florida because the dosum whist. But Jonathan would watch my show way back, and his wife would get really mad at him. You're not supposed to be watching that. You're not supposed to be watching that. And they don't want you to listen to any non-church stuff about spirituality or about self-help. And Tracy said this. I know it's off the track, but it's a reality, and this seems like a good time to address it. Folks, you got to remember, this pandemic, the dosum whist, it's all about the election. This is good. This is really good. I hope that somebody that's close to President Trump hears this. And I kind of think that somebody that knows President Trump listens. But anyway, if you want to get rid of COVID, if you're sick and tired of COVID, I can tell you 100% how to get rid of COVID. If you're sick and tired of the mask, I can control a virus. That's Tory's term. I like that. If you're sick and tired of the mask, I can tell you 100% how to get rid of the mask. If you're sick and tired of being sheltered at home, of not being able to work, and I can tell you 100% how to do it. On November 3rd, vote for Donald Trump to be reelected as president of the United States. And on November 4th, after Donald Trump gets elected, COVID will go away. And so will Black Lives Matter, and so will Antifa. All these things are dissonance, Black Lives Matter burning cities, Antifa burning cities. Thank you, Laura. All those are the last gasp of the dying deep state. It'll be a miracle. As soon as Trump wins by landslide, this is a prediction. I gave this to my mom just a few minutes ago. Donald Trump will win by both electoral and popular landslide, and the Republican Party will hold the Senate and retake the House. Why do you think Donald Trump, as Cynthia just pointed out, I keep saying it's just going to go away? Because it'll go away on November 4th. If you're sick of the dissonance of this virus, then vote for Donald Trump on November 3rd, and it all goes away. It all goes away. You heard it here first. The Church of Scientology forbids questions and discussion of decisions made by leadership. They seek to make all of your communication Scientologically exclusive only. They're a cult. LRH said this: we of the church believe that all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely of their own opinions, and to counter or write on the opinions of others. Oh man, that is so powerful. L. Ron Hubbard believed and taught that we have an inalienable right to think freely. Christianity tells us to not think freely, forbids us to think freely. Our YouTube cult guys prevent us to think freely, and girls. They don't want you to counter their opinions. If you counter their opinions, you're attacking them. If you ever get to the place where you think a question or a counter argument to your beliefs is an attack, your ego has exploded and it's no longer your servant, it's your master. You better check yourself because you're going down and you're going down hard. And there's a thing called the code of a Scientologist, and one of them is to work for freedom of speech in the world. Dianetic Scientology, not a cult. How about Christianity and Christian light? Right from the script. For I testify to you that every man that hears the words of this prophecy, if they should add anything to them, don't care if you got a good idea, don't care if you have an inspiration, you can't add anything to them without God adding you the plagues. And if you take anything away, well, I don't really like that part, then God's going to take away your part of the book of life. Christian light, let me ask you this. If you're one of these Christian light people that follow these YouTube channels that are just a little dab of blood will do you. Well, we don't really believe in Paul anymore. Have you not just taken away from the words of the book? Well, we only believe the red words. Well, what about all the black words? You're taking away. That means you're about to get blasted. And then, Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the rat bastard with all your heart. And listen to this. Lean not on your own understanding. Don't think for yourself. Do what you're told. And that's what your YouTube channels tell you. I'm the one. I get the message and I deliver it to you. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. And this is the last one we're going to go through today. Language manipulation and loss of communication. A cult seeks to bring you out of understanding with your fellow beings. And they do this by creating a whole new vocabulary. And we'll talk about this. Remember the Tower of Babel? The way they want you to forget how to communicate with your old associates, with your old family. Plus, they want to give you these new words and new terminology that you're really unfamiliar with. And because most of us are lazy, you'll never look them up. And it causes a perpetual state of unknowing. And that's where the cult wants to keep you, because then you're just like, okay, whatever you say. The Church of Scientology demonstrably does this, and they are a cult. Again, how about LRH? This is one of the most profound documents you will ever see. Whether you love me, hate me, never watch me again, if you can internalize this into your understanding, it will literally change your life. It'll change your relationships, your intimate relationships, your erotic relationships, your work, all of your relationships. Understanding, communication is made up of these three things. You getting her, her getting you, your kid getting you, your employees getting you, your boss getting you. That's understanding. And there's three things you got to have. You got to have communication. And that just doesn't mean you yelling at him and him ignoring you, you yelling at her and her ignoring you. Communication is defined as information sent and received along a line. And how do you know it's been received? Because you get a confirmation back. You can yell and scream at each other for hours and never communicate, because the person that you're engaged in this with is not even listening to what you say. They've already decided in their head what they're going to say, and they're just waiting for you to shut up so they can say it. It's not communication. And you have to have affinity. Affinity simply means that I understand you, you understand me, we're both humans. You don't necessarily have to like them. You just have to have, I know you, you know me, we can talk. And then you got to have reality. You got to have an agreement on reality. And it doesn't even have to be real. It just has to be your agreement. You can both believe that you are Anunnaki from the planet X that got dropped off last time. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. If you both believe it, guess what? You've got affinity. And then you can communicate. Oh, you were on Nibiru too? Yeah, I was on Nibiru. Oh, shit, me too. Hey, bro, we got some affinity. I hate these masks. Oh, yeah, me too. We got affinity. Well, let's talk about ways we can prevent it. Look at these people with no masks. They're going to kill us. Yes, I know they will. Oh, how can we kill them first? It doesn't have to be good communication. It doesn't even have to be good understanding. But if you are having trouble communicating with somebody, check this out. Do I have affinity with them? Are we on talking basis? I got that. Okay. How about reality? Here's a problem with a lot of couples come up with. He sees it his way and she sees it her way. There's no reality because he doesn't see her way and she doesn't see his way. You got to find that middle way. You got to find some reality. And you got to have communication. Sent, accepted, received, and fed back. Now, is somebody that would teach that trying to control communication? No, obviously not. It's not a cult. Whoops. What about Christianity? Christianity light. They both seek to bring you out of understanding with your fellow beings. They encourage this new vocabulary. Oh, the anointing is so efficacious. I'm engaged in, what do they call it? Intercessory spiritual warfare. This new vocabulary. You don't say anything that the world does. It's done by giving you this new language. And guess what? Thank you, son, man. And guess what? If you're Pentecostal, they really give you a new language. Think about that. They want you to forget how to communicate with your old associates and family. They constantly badger you to come out of the world and not associate with worldly people. Plus, new words are unfamiliar and cause you to stay in that state of unknowing, which is where they want to keep you. Christianity light are definitely cults. This will be number 6, but we're not going to go into it tonight. And yeah, this really does happen. Well, folks, let's plunge into the chat room and see what you all have to say about what you've heard here today. You've listened to me for 56 minutes. It's only fair that I listen to you. If I can get my cursor to work properly for me. There it is. Thank you. I think the cursor doesn't work as fast as I do. You know, you ever have that? Okay. Let's talk. And let's see. No, I'll just stand. All right. Here we go, folks. Louis Mac from Kansas. Nice to see you. What else we got? Lisa, are we a cult? Yep, you got to check that stuff out. Laura says not a cult. I agree. My kid's in the car listening and he loves it. That's awesome, Laura. I love that. Love it. Scientology, laugh out loud. Yeah. I'm struggling to let go of Hollywood. I was addicted to TV for 20 years. I still feel the pull to watch movies. You know what, Brandon? This is just me. And I mean, if you feel like you should stop watching, then you stop watching. I still watch a movie every now and then. Very rarely, but I still watch a movie every now and then. I watch Supernatural. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get through all 15 seasons. But yeah, I watch that. So I do watch a little bit. If that makes me a bad guy, well, at least I'm an honest guy. Tracy doesn't watch any of it. Absolutely. Interesting. They'll stalk you if you're not tithing. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Heavy metals are bad for your brain, especially aluminum linked to Alzheimer's. That's true. That's a C60 reference. Also in hypnosis, they can insert things. If they can make you squawk like a chicken at the sight of the color red, then they can drop other things into you, ladies and gentlemen. You're told you don't have faith if you question. Great one, Cynthia, that you're not committed enough. Another great one, Cynthia. Tracy says it would not be cool to live with all you people. There is always more to learn. Let's see. Rapture equals Christian wishful thinking. Same as the event is Christian new or wishful new age thinking. Nika in the house. Nice to see her again. I've been listening, just wasn't able to be in chat. Good. Now she's got data on her phone so she can listen in the car. Perfect. What else we got here? Maybe they're not trying to stop the pandemic. Oh, of course they're not trying to stop it. Church preachers said false teachers deny the truths of Jeebus, and all that they're teaching is false teaching. Well, of course they do. Chick pot pie, you know, and if you don't know, listen to some of my past podcasts. Jesus wasn't even real. But anyway, I love miracles. Trump 2020. I'm always trying to improve myself, says Jason. I've been curious about LRH. Do you suggest reading Dianetics, the Evolution of a science. I don't suggest you read anything post 1972. And I promise by the next time we get together, which will be tomorrow, I'll have the URL where you can go and avail yourself of these pre-1972 texts. Is that important? It's the importance between white Dianetics and black Dianetics, in my opinion. Penelope says when she was Mormon, they told us, if you have doubts, don't look into it. Then the doubts will fade away. In our churches, we always used to say, just put it on the shelf, brother. Right. Just put it on the shelf. Let's see. Westworld messed with me after 8 years of no TV. I only watched the first season. No Anthony Hopkins. I'm out. All right. People just need to use their common sense, says Robin. She's right. Joe Mama, good point there. Just accept it. Yep, that's what they want us to do. Well, folks, I'm here to encourage you to ask questions. I'm here to encourage you to question answers too. That's important. You're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. You don't have original sin. You got the spark of divinity within. And you don't have to go to anybody's savior on bended knee because you don't need salvation. Please give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether you liked it or didn't like it. Subscribe and tap that bell twice. If you want to help us now that we demonetized, you can do so in the bottom. But more importantly, I am your mailman, and you've got mail. I hope you'll open it. I hope you'll read it. I hope you'll apply it. But I've done all I can do. For Tracy Dyer and our other great moderators, Jama, we appreciate you all. For the lovely Cynthia, I salute you for being here and seeking after truth. And never fear, the U.S. Postal Service, as screwed up as they are, rain, sleet, snow, dark of night, it's not true where we live, trust me. Nothing will keep them from their appointed rounds. I am your mailman, and nothing will keep me from my appointed rounds. I salute you for being here, seeking after truth, and I encourage you all to unindoctrinate yourself.